I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We sure
Oh, yeah, I just have to go to the phone. I don't know what's going on, but okay. I'm here.
Good, yeah. You figured it out. That's all that matters.
Texas Wi-Fi, man. I've heard about Texas Wi-Fi. It's pretty bad.
Wait a second. I need a drink now. That was frustrating getting that going.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another brand new episode of Bourbon Pursuit. We've got a great one in store today because it is everybody's favorite. It's the Roundtable, and I'm going to talk about those topics here in a second after I run through some news. I'm going to talk about it again. Bourbon and Beyond, we've got the bands announced, we've got the bourbon personalities announced. We're going to be there. Robert Plant's going to be there. Lenny Kravitz, Blake from Bourbon, Fred Minnick, you name it. A lot of cool people are going to be there. I mean, you name any distillery from Heaven Hill, Jefferson's, Willett, Smooth Ambler, Boone County, Maker's Mark. They're all going to be there at Bourbon and Beyond. So start making your plans now to be there. Tickets are already on sale. Go to bourbonpursuit.com. We've got a banner there with an affiliate link. I promise we don't get any kickbacks. It's just our way of trying to help get more people there to the show. And I think we might be in a competition against Blake over there, as well as Brian from Sippin' Corn. So hopefully we can get more people there than they can. And who knows, we're really talking about possibly doing something as maybe a pre-party. We're kind of getting the plans together. We'll kind of see what that's going to look like. But make sure you start going through and start looking at tickets. Weekend Getaways are actually already getting sold out. They're actually over halfway sold out through their tickets already. So go to the website, look around, make some plans, and get to Kentucky and get to Louisville to make this happen. So go to our website, check out the banner, and get your tickets. Patreon shipments for $3 and $5 have actually gone out the door now, so it's now time to begin working on March. It is Derby week, and if you missed it, I posted my ultimate mint julep big batch recipe on Facebook and Instagram. And Instagram also goes to Twitter as well. But make sure you go and try it out real quick before the big race on Saturday. It's something that I came up with a few years ago that's a lot easier than doing single drinks, and it's way better than anything you can get in a bottle at the liquor store. So all it takes is just a few minutes, some mint, some sugar, and 1.75 of bourbon to make it happen. So today we've got the Roundtable. It is everybody's favorite, and we just love to talk about random topics. And this week we're joined by a special guest as we dive into the Anti-Spirit Award competition arguments. If you want to know why we did this, go back and listen to episode 144, just as Henry McKenna came out and was announced the winner of San Francisco Spirits. So we want to talk about the opposite side of that. Like, what do these really serve for? Why do people like them? Why do people hate them? So on and so forth. We also talk about our recent lack of coverage on anything from Buffalo Trace in regards to press releases. And lastly, we touch on Longbranch from Wild Turkey that had been partnered with Matthew McConaughey. And just as a joke, everybody, I think, really kind of wanted this to be a rye, because you could then just say, all rye, all rye, all rye. I know, that was super cheesy. But if you do like the show, make sure you support us on Patreon. This is really our way of being able to get in touch with the people that really help support this. We are trying to be more involved with them every single day to be able to give them access to things not everybody else gets to in the public, such as being able to talk one-on-one, being able to have access to the gear that we have, whether they're the polo shirts we wear, bottle totes, patches, t-shirts, so on and so forth. And we've got more barrel picks to be announced as well. So this is some really cool stuff that is going to be coming. And make sure you get everything that is going to be happening through social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to us through all those great places that you can get this podcast on: iTunes, YouTube, Facebook, Stitcher, Google Play, and your favorite podcast app that's out there. And if you want every new episode beamed straight to your inbox so you can see the pictures, you can play it, not directly from there, but you can get a link to play it from there. And then you can see all the show notes and the links to everything that are in the show notes. Go to bourbonpursuit.com, scroll down, get yourself signed up for our email list, and then you can get everything first thing Thursday morning, 7 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. With that, enjoy this week's episode.
From their bar to yours, Chad and Sarah of the popular YouTube channel It's Bourbon Night bring you their favorite at-home old-fashioned mix with the new Elemental Elixir's Golden Hour Syrup. It's a custom-made syrup with notes of bold black tea, warm spices, and orange zest. All you need is your favorite whiskey and ice. No bitters needed. One bottle makes 16 drinks, so that's only $1 a cocktail before you add your own whiskey. They can also be enjoyed in other cocktails or spirits, mocktails, coffee, tea, and anything you can think of. It's crafted locally in Lexington, Kentucky, and you can get your bottle now at whiskeyambitions.com. Ed Bly and Rising Tide Spirits are back again with a new release of Old Stubborn Bourbon. And this release of Old Stubborn is a premium hand marriage of 10, 11, and 12-year cask strength, barely filtered pot still bourbon. It comes in at a staggering 123.8 proof. And the flavoring grain for this one, which the last one was wheated, but this time it's now rye. Rich, sweet, and bold with a long finish that's sure to be another eye-opener. You can order online at Sealbox or thebourbonconcierge.com, and you can even purchase in person at Revival Vintage Spirits, and even now with very few select stores in Kentucky. You can get it now while you can, but be sure to do it because it's not going to last long. Always find what you love at Total Wine & More. With so many great bottles to choose from at the lowest price, it's easy to find your favorite Cabernet or a new single barrel bourbon to try with some help from one of their friendly guides. And with every bottle comes the confidence of knowing you just found something amazing. With the lowest prices for over 30 years, find what you love and love what you find only at Total Wine & More. Curbside pickup and delivery available in most areas. Visit TotalWine.com to learn more. Spirits not sold in Virginia and North Carolina. Drink responsibly and be 21.
Play Whiskey Wednesday Round 11, the memory game. Until June 26, each week you can win one of our 12 incredible grand prizes. Select $2 at checkout. And if they match on drawing night, you'll win that bottle. Not a match? No worries. You still score a Weller 12-year. Every $5 ticket gives you 5 chances to win, including 4 weekly bonus prizes. Get your tickets now at give270.org. Charitable Gaming License ORG 0002703.
Do you ever pour yourself a bourbon, swirl it around, and then start struggling to come up with tasting notes? And perhaps you're also looking for a good Father's Day gift idea. Well, you can now solve both with a kit from Knows Your Bourbon. And unlike other nosing kits on the market, Knows Your Bourbon kits feature real ingredients for the most authentic aromas. You can smell real Tahitian vanilla bean instead of some synthetic aroma that's just made from chemicals. So head on over to knowsyourbourbon.com. and enter code BP10 for 10% off your order.
Welcome back to the episode of the Bourbon Pursuit Podcast, the official podcast of bourbon. We are back with another episode. It is the 20th recording of the Bourbon Community Roundtable. So congratulations. We've got full quorum on the podcast tonight. So this is going, we tried to do the math earlier, I think a year and a half now of doing these. So our 20th one, it's a monumental time. So we're just celebrating and drinking per usual. I don't really think we're doing anything crazy, but yeah, we've got a lot of great topics lined up tonight. You know, last time we were sitting there just talking and topics just started coming up. This time we've got a good chunk of bullet points to go through as we're going on tonight. But we also have a new person that is going to be joining us for the roundtable tonight because he came out with an article that is going to be the kind of a center of focus tonight for one of the topics. So I want to introduce another person who's not he's not new to the show by any means. He's been on before. Wade Woodard from tatertalk.com. So Wade, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Kenny. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Talking about this. So
good deal. So first off, just give everybody kind of an idea of where you blog and how they can get in contact with you if you're on Twitter, Instagram, or anything like that.
Sure. My blog is tater-talk.com, and it's not about potatoes. It's all about whiskey. So if you don't know what a whiskey tater is, you can check out my site and learn what it is. But my focus has always been on a consumer advocacy position of making sure we have the truth in labeling on whiskey labels. That's kind of been my focus for the past 3 or 4 years. And my blog's about that. It's about some other things, but definitely check out that. And on Twitter, I'm Wade Wood.
And then I think the tater list is up to what, like 64 bullet points is what could potentially make you a tater?
Oh, I think I added a few since you saw it last. I think maybe about 66. But the last one on there now, and we'll stay on there, is You might be a tater if you maintain a list of over 60 reasons why other people's might be taters. So I wrote one specifically just for me.
Say the self-deprecating one. It came in finally.
I think you should probably come out with like some kind of survey that says like basically like how tater are you onto a scale, and so if you answer yes to like certain questions, it's gonna
moderate tater,
full blown,
deep fried tater.
So Brian, you chimed in there, so you go ahead next.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on again. Brian with Sippin' Corn. You can find me mostly on Twitter at Sippin' Corn. I blog through Google, where we talk about mostly the legal side of bourbon, along with bourbon reviews, and lately a little more on Facebook, also at Sippin' Corn.
And Blake, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Blake from Bourboner.com. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube channel, all the following. So definitely check it out.
Tinder.
But I think we all need to give Blake a round of applause. First time back since having the twins. So congratulations.
Congrats.
This is actually just coffee. It's just pure shots of espresso the entire night. No, yeah. Father of 4 now. It feels weird to say that, but going good so far.
Well, yeah, good thing you've got at least a college tuition or 2 bunkered away in bottles down there. So you're set down.
I'm really, banking on athletic scholarships. Being a 5'10" guy with not that much athleticism, I'm pretty certain some of my kids will turn out like 6'4" and
NFL tight ends.
NFL tight ends is what I thought.
My NFL pedigree, I figure they'll have a good chance for sure.
Yeah, too bad there's no money in curling for Winter Olympics, right?
I don't know. You grab a couple sponsorships.
Nick, you go ahead.
All right, I'm Nick from Breaking Bourbon, one of the 3 guys behind the site. Check us out online at breakingbourbon.com and on social media at Breaking Bourbon.
And Carrie, clean us up.
This is Carrie from suburbia.com, SUBOURBIA. I took a small sabbatical from blogging to work on my career as a puppeteer, and that didn't go so well, so I'm back to blogging now. I actually got a couple articles coming out pretty soon, and follow me on Twitter at @bourbon_gamer, and you'll see me talk a lot of shit on Facebook, and that's about it.
Could we do a quick rundown out of the 20 Bourbon Community Roundtables we had? How many of them Carrie has said, yeah, I got a blog post coming out soon? So just how many of those have actually been followed up with a blog post?
I need to write more.
As a new blogger, I know I started out at the beginning of the year with a bang, but it slows down quick.
It does, man. There's so many ideas at first, and then you're like, shit. How many ways do I say caramel?
The writing process is not an easy one.
No.
I'm just glad there's 3 of us. I don't know how you guys do it. One, just writing.
Well, Brian's over there writing an entire book, so he can't say anything.
That's true.
Yeah, I'll be quiet on this one. I found a little time.
He's like,
I think Burbia would be really cool.
Bernerbia
corn.
No one would have problems finding that URL.
Suburbanar.
That's search engine optimization. It's very fine. It's right there.
Yeah.
Bourboners in the suburbs. That's
I see that going downhill fast.
Yeah.
So let's move to our first topic of conversation tonight. So one of the launches that we had just seen recently was the Wild Turkey collaboration that they have now done with Matthew McConaughey called Longbranch. So I have not had a chance to try it yet, but has anybody here actually been able to get their hands on it, do a review or anything like that?
Yeah, so I tried it, and like my fellow writer, Suburbia, I have a review coming out, so I won't release everything, but to me, I saw a lot of good reviews. So that got me pretty excited. It's 8 years. I love the old 8-year Wild Turkey whiskey, but I didn't really like it that much. But it's also $32. So it's like, how hard can you criticize a $32 whiskey? But I don't know. For me, it was just it was light tasting. I think the charcoal filtering or the filtering they did with the mesquite wood and the oak, it made a good story, but I don't know if it actually helped the product.
Mesquite wood?
Yeah,
I thought it was mesquite charcoal.
Well,
I think it's mesquite charcoal.
Well, it'd have to be mesquite charcoal, but all charcoal is the same at that point if you actually get it to the charcoal point, right?
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but it's heavy charcoal. It almost reminds me of like a Jack Daniel's because it is kind of lighter, and you taste the heavy char. I don't know. It wasn't my preference. I'd take a bottle of Rare Breed over it.
What was the proof on it?
86.
Okay. I mean, it's a good entry level bourbon. It's 86 proof. It's nothing sticks out as like too offensive or anything like that. And it's $32. So it's kind of hard based on those few things to say, no, it's not a good whiskey, but I didn't enjoy the taste if we're just judging it based on that.
So I'll throw another question to somebody's way here. So do you look at this as something that they're not looking for the whiskey geeks on this one, right? Like they're looking to just the average consumer. Everybody's hung up on Matthew McConaughey, right? Like, are they trying to play that angle rather than something that would appeal to somebody like us?
You might be hung up on Matthew. I'm not.
Whoa. As a Texan, Wade, you're going to say that?
You have to be, right?
And he's gorgeous.
Secretly.
How dare you say that?
Secretly. I'll take that one, though. I think that's what this release is. I mean, if I think about Wild Turkey and what they are and what their their marketing or their labels, how they look, the Wild Turkey, the turkey on the label, some higher proofs, relatively speaking. Russell's Reserve, same thing. We're getting into some higher proofs in a lot of cases. I think this is marketed to the same people that, are we're seeing some of Beam's products marketed to. So I think this is marketed to somebody that's newer to bourbon, who isn't going to get to something that's 100 proof because that seems like it's way too much. They might clue in on McConaughey. They might just clue in on the look of this bottle, and it's going to introduce them to what Wild Turkey is. And I think that's what they're going for this. They're going for a wide angle, a wide market, and they want to pull people in. I think it's a good bottle. I think it's a decent flavor. I only had it once. Eric's going to review it. That'll come out this week. But, I think they've got something here. Is it something I'm going to keep buying and drink all the time? Probably not. I'll drink 101. I'll drink Russell's Reserve single barrel. But, I think this is going to introduce a lot of people to what Wild Turkey is. I think that's what they're going for. Wide angle, big market, not necessarily us.
Well, why do you think they needed Longbranch or Matthew to be and Brian, maybe or Wade, anybody that wants to take this one, why do you think they needed him to do this? Like, why do you think that they just couldn't start just a new brand extension just to start a new brand? Like, why did Matthew have to be this involved with it?
Well, I'll take that and then Wade jump in too. But he's obviously part of their broader plans here. The way they've gotten them so involved in everything Wild Turkey now, and I think this goes back to the enthusiast versus just regular consumer, because the enthusiasts all know Jimmy and Eddie, and they're rock stars to us, and we're looking at the Russell's Reserve private store selections, and that's what we want. But but that's they don't make their money on enthusiasts, and they need just to sell more volume. And McConaughey is going to sell that volume for them. And people who have an impression of Wild Turkey as too harsh, too spicy, those sorts of things, this might get them into the brand. They're just looking for brand extension and more sales, and they need to do that.
I think the everyday consumer is also looking for something new, right? I mean,
exactly.
The ultra hyped, ultra premium stuff, they're not going to find. So they hear about bourbon all the time, and it's like they want something different.
Yep.
So I think it's a good market for them.
Endorsements go a long way, and releasing a new product obviously has a much bigger splash than just saying, hey, don't forget about Wild Turkey 101 or something like that. So, you release a new product. They got Matthew behind it, and I like how we're using just his first name, like any of us know him. But since he started, and I'm gonna go with it. But no, you get Matthew McConaughey, obviously a huge name, and I mean, I think it's helping. I don't know sales or anything, but just based on the publicity I've seen around all of his stuff, I see him on talk shows talking about wild turkey and all this other stuff. So, good for them from a business standpoint. I think it's great.
I'm just waiting for the version where he's driving down the street in a Lincoln and you got the red blue flashing behind him. And it just turns
autopilot. He's got lane assist on and he's just sitting back and he's taking a sip of his bourbon and there's a
he's in a self-driving car. It all comes into play and you're like, I get it now. I gotta have one of those.
I think part of it too is Wild Turkey and Wild Turkey 101 has this reputation as the drink you got drunk on in college. And the general public doesn't think it's good whiskey, but us whiskey geeks know it really is. At least I sure like Wild Turkey 101 and the rare breed barrel picks and things. But to come out with another expression that's Longbranch, it's not directly tied to that Wild Turkey 101 experience. I think will help them in the market.
That's a really good point, actually, because they do put Wild Turkey on the neck, but everything is focused on the bottle of the different brand. The Wild Turkey, it's got the raised letters that say a small batch, aged in American oak, all that kind of stuff.
Can you bring it closer?
It's almost like they're trying to not distance themselves from the Wild Turkey brand, but just create its own. So the Wild Turkey's up there, but all of this, it doesn't say anything, just Kentucky straight bourbon, oak in Texas, mesquite, charcoal refined. I don't know what charcoal refined means. I assume it means filtered.
Refined, yeah.
Well, a turkey, just think of turkey in general. It's a bird to start with. It's not a real sexy bird. And in a lot of their bottles, it's on the bottle. You have an image of a turkey on a bottle, and that's not necessarily going to draw in a 27-year-old consumer who's just cruising the shelves looking for something that's under $50. Whereas this, I think it's kind of got that, that same Basil Hayden's kind of feel to it, looks premium, maybe heard about it before, an actor talked about it, not too over the top. I do wonder, though, that font is very similar to Old Forester. I got to wonder if something's going to happen with that going forward. When you compare them side by side, I don't know if there's any,
The bottle is so much different.
I don't know if they have any control over that or not. But
Good thing you got Wade here. He could probably tell you about it from that perspective.
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
The interesting thing is Jimmy does not get his name on here. It's just Matthew McConaughey and Eddie Russell.
Eddie. Mm-hmm.
So
passing the torch, right?
Yep. Yeah. I guess so. Which seems kind of funny, but
one thing I thought interesting, and maybe only me and Brian will, is in all the marketing material and on their website, they call it an 8-year-old whiskey and say that it's 8-year-old bourbon, but it's not on the bottle. It's no age statement on the bottle or on the label.
Yeah.
Huh.
Do you
they
think
call it Imperial?
In the press release, it says 8 years old. Do you think they are setting that up just to drop it later on? Or, I guess they have that ability because it's not like they're going to release a batch 2. I think this is just an ongoing
product. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you take it down to 86 proof, you should be able to have enough stock around for a little bit, right? It's not like it's barrel proof flying off the shelves for people like us, right? I would think it at that age range, you should be able to probably keep that around, but who knows how fast it's going to fly off the shelf, right? I don't think it's going to have like the same pull that say Weller does. It doesn't really matter as long as it has the name Weller. It's flying off the shelf, at least around here. But with regards to that being a new brand extension, they have their their work cut out for them a little bit, trying to do marketing beyond the people like us that are very well aware of it already out there, right?
I think that 8-year was for people like us, but I think it was an insurance policy where, number one, their market doesn't care about that. Mm-hmm. So, I think about 1792, the 8 years used to be on the back. I don't think most people knew it was there. They removed it. No one really knew it was gone. No one talked about that going away. It's just a premium looking bottle and it's like $25. right? So this same thing here.
Very old Martin 6-year in it.
Right, exactly, right. So it's just, they're looking at it now, I think, and saying, well, what's the point of even putting it on there? It's going to be 8 years probably. I think it probably will be.
And if it's not, if a batch isn't, then
and if it's not, they're not out of compliance. Exactly. Right. So why not, appease the people that care about that, but in the press release, who are going to be the people reading the press release probably and talking about it, and then leave it off because the people buying it probably aren't going to care. And it leaves you wide open to not have to remove it in the future, which is, no matter how you slice it, never good. It's never goes down well,
So let's take another speculation. I'm going to throw a speculation kind of question out there. So there is the Wild Turkey 81 proof that's been out there. Now people are calling this one the Basil Hayden of Wild Turkey. Now, do you think that we could possibly see a kind of silent decline or silent fall of 81 Wild Turkey in regards to this now coming out?
Who bought 81 Wild Turkey? I mean, bars?
It was designed by them and marketed to bartenders because they thought the craft bartending scene wanted the lower proof whiskey. I remember when it changed from 80 to 81, that was the reasoning for it. But I don't think that was a market for it there either. So
yeah. I think they probably do end up dropping that because 101 is so ingrained in us, the people who know Wild Turkey, that they should just stick to 101 as that brand, and then let this new one be the lower proof, and that's the one that a lot of consumers will go for. I mean, a lot of people are looking for that lower Basil Hayden proof.
I feel like
lower drinkability.
In college, we went 80 proof all the time. I mean, it was cheaper, and
it's what you could afford.
You didn't need to drink as much of it as you do now. Now I got to drink a whole fifth of it. But back in college, man, we'd take a couple fifths and take them to football games, and that's what we drank at parties. And actually, we drank Beam at UGA. We were fancy, but it would seem like the lower proof is mainly for the younger people.
Well, and one other thing, and Nick, you'll be glad what I'm drinking since we had that other conversation. I've got the formerly known as Yellow Label that I'm working on. But
you bought it though, right?
Oh yeah,
okay.
Yeah, this one, yeah, it's $15 here. You can't beat it. But in addition to that crowd, Carrie, this is what Jim used to drink when he was out at an event. He'd always go for Yellow Label, because his theory was if you're out there and you're having to talk to people and all that sorts of thing, drink an 80 proof. So he was really pushing the 80 proof instead of what's viewed as better bourbon. So there's room for those lower proofs, and there'll be room for this new brand.
I've talked to a lot of people who we start talking about bourbon, and I like bourbon, I drink it, and they'll bring up Basil Hayden's and say, I drink it on the rocks, so. Yeah. And it's too high proof for them. Neat, So I mean, for me, I can. It's already low proof, neat as it is. It's flavorless as it is. But for them, it's a whole different thing. So I think that's the majority of people out there.
Yep.
Look, we all started with something lower. Gentleman Jack was my drink for a year and a half. Gentleman Jack on the rocks was what I had before I got into bourbon.
Welcome to the party now, Carrie.
Thank you. Yeah. I'll tell you now, I love the old Charter 80 proof. God, it's so good.
Well, that wasn't really bourbon. No, just
we're not getting into that conversation. So there's one last question I kind of want to kind of look at this, and anybody can feel free to take this one. But in your opinion, does Wild Turkey maybe lose something by Matthew McConaughey putting his name next to Eddie's? Does it make you feel more or less is it indifferent? Do you have any sort of like negative feelings towards Wild Turkey because of this? Or are you just kind of like, hey, like it's just business as usual?
It doesn't matter. I mean, what's her face that was doing all the Beam commercials and
Mila Kunis?
Yeah. And we're just, some of the commercials, and I'm like, she's still hot. This Beam is still regular Beam, is still terrible, but didn't really change anything.
It's not.
But you didn't buy a bottle of white label.
Yeah, it was like it's the biggest selling bourbon of all time. Like it's not terrible.
I mean,
so I don't say that,
it's
but
not terrible. You're right. I'm sorry, Bean.
Boring.
Distillery. It's boring. Thank you.
No, I mean, I think we just have graduated a little bit, and that's all it really is. I think there's always going to be room for stuff like that, right? And so this is me trying to do damage control. Thanks, fellas.
We see like Pappy suddenly get a mascot, and there's like an old guy who pretends to be Pappy Van Winkle smoking a cigar saying, this is great bourbon. Then maybe it might affect us. But like for the everyday consumer, it's not going to make that much of a difference whether they have a product placement or not.
Right.
My next Halloween costume, I'm going to be Pappy Van Winkle, just drinking bourbon all day.
Isn't that just called like Wednesday cigars?
I actually did that one Halloween.
You were Pappy?
It was a Halloween theme party, and you had to go as your favorite drink.
There you go.
Well, that's a little bit easier, it seems.
Did you have like the 3-piece suit on and everything with the cigar all night?
No, I'm more like the old Sleepy Hollow character that was asleep, but I was carrying around a bottle of Rip Van Winkle 15-107.
So actual Rip Van Winkle?
No, that's fun.
Squat bottle.
Nice.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's move on to our next one, and this is kind of like the big reason we had Wade on tonight was because Fred had made the announcement that there was a winner at the San Francisco Spirits Competition, which if you're curious about San Francisco Spirits Competition, we had just released a podcast 2 weeks ago or actually 3 weeks ago now, something like that. But it was looking at really what goes into the competition itself. How's competition done? How's it done blind? What do these awards even really mean? Is it just all marketing? And we got a lot of great answers out of it. And Fred came out, as he does every year, and he writes a blog article that kind of talks about the judging process, talks about what happens when a bourbon goes from, between the next two levels to finally get to the super tasting or whatever it was called. And at the very end, he reveals that the winner of the San Francisco Spirits Competition for the best bourbon was the one that we have talked about for the longest time, the one that we've said that we should quit talking about, which was Henry McKenna, right? A 10-year solid bourbon that everybody know and loves. And oddly enough, Elijah Craig placed second. So let's talk a little bit first about this before we kind of get into the anti-spirit award show topic here. Was anybody I was kind of surprised that it was Henry McKenna. I think it's solid. I don't think it's the best bourbon out of 300 that could have been submitted, but I could be wrong.
What was submitted? Do they have a list of everything that was submitted?
No. So the transparency is a little, I guess, weak in that regards. It doesn't necessarily say exactly which barrel it was. There are rumors that says that it was a bottle that was just picked up off the shelf in San Francisco that was submitted. It's not like Heaven Hill said that they're going to go and find some cherry barrel, and that's the one that they're going to submit for Heaven Hill. That's hearsay and rumor.
I want to hear Wade's take on this.
On
just
McKenna
jump
winning?
right into Wade.
Yeah, kind of.
Well, no, I'll jump in on McKenna. I'm going to start with, look at what I'm having a pour of here. Henry McKenna, but an old label. This is a private barrel pick by the East Bay Study Group out in California. This was aged in Dietzfield's warehouses on the top floor, 6th floor, and it was shadow distilled by Brown Foreman. Done in 2011, the absolute best Henry McKenna I ever had. If this was entered in the show and won, I would say, yes, that's definitely one of the top bourbons that I've had in my lifetime.
What year was that bottled?
It was bottled in 2011.
Okay.
That's interesting that you say that, though, because that was, that was a bottle that was how much at the time? Probably
$25.
Yeah, 26.
Yeah,
something like that.
Am I back to? You can hear me?
Yes. Yeah, that's good. Okay. That's good, Blake.
So, but I'm just trying to say, or I was trying to say that the story that we're told is that just some random Heaven Hill rep ran out to the store real quick and brought back a bottle of Henry McKenna, dropped it off at the show. Like, don't those bottles have to be sent in months before and everything, or?
Yes, there is an entry form. There is a specific warehouse here that the bottle has to be sent to, and that's probably all handled by corporate. So
Yeah.
I'm not buying this rumor of, oh, it was just a random barrel out there and the rep out there winning sent it into this show.
I mean, but to Wade's point, like I've had some unbelievable Henry McKenna barrels. And actually, I think the blind tasting that Wade did with Bourboner, I did a new Henry McKenna barrel and an old Henry McKenna barrel. And, it's the pre-fire, all this stuff. And it just wasn't a very good barrel. So, I mean, it was decent bourbon. It wasn't bad by any means, but the new one outscored it by, it was like 4 or 5 points, I think. So, I always get a little, the ears start to point up whenever you hear about these single barrels that win these award shows. Another reason why I don't love single barrels is because you could go out and buy 20 more bottles of Henry McKenna and then maybe all from the same barrel, and you may not like that barrel. So good win for Heaven Hill. I think it was deserved. They're putting out a lot of good product, but at the end of the day, a single barrel that wins the best bourbon, I just kind of question.
I'll toss this out there too. The latest Parker's Heritage collection, the latest single barrel. We bought 2 different bottles from 2 different barrels. Opened both of them. Both were decent. We reviewed one of them. I think Eric reviewed it. Everyone's talking about this being the best thing. We're like, maybe our palates are different. It's weird. How come the 3 of us thought the same thing, but other people are talking about it being fantastic? Eric tried a bottle his dad bought, and he said, "This is absolutely fantastic. Totally different from our barrels that we got." Right? I mean, and that's $130 a bottle that we spent right on those, and we're going pretty big range on these, right? So at least Henry McKenna is a $30 bottle, as a starting point. But yeah, I believe that there's a big range on what those, those can be. When I think of the Promise of Hope bottles, which were essentially Henry McKenna just proofed down a little bit, just the honey barrels, and those were fantastic. The honey barrels of Henry McKenna were fantastic. I rated one of those a 5 on our website, right? So I believe they're out there. I just don't think you're going to hit those that often.
Well, I think with Heaven Hill, you get that variance with barrels. I mean, I think that's one of the awesome things about it too. Is 3 years ago, the Elijah Craig 18 release, there was a barrel that was here in Georgia. It was 40.55 or something, and everyone that tried it was like, "God, that is amazing, amazing bourbon." And I haven't found another bottle of that 3-year-old release or each of the years since then that's tasted that good, And so I think you've once in a while you come across one that is a honey barrel that they've put out. So I mean, I think I would agree with you that paying $129 for a chance at a honey barrel kind of sucks, and paying $20, I still see it $28.99 in stores around Atlanta. I mean, I'll take that chance any day.
It's still going to be good.
Yeah.
Right. It's still a decent bourbon. It's just, it might be fantastic. I just think the number of those that are the chance that was that one of those absolute best ones that landed in the spirits competition is pretty small. I mean, I suppose it's possible. Anything's possible, right? People win the lottery every day.
Yeah.
So anything's possible. But reality is the majority are not like that. I mean, let's face it. That's the reality.
But if you're a producer, I'm not blaming Heaven Hill at all. If I'm making a single barrel product, I'm going to pick a good barrel to enter in the competition.
You better.
I mean, why would you not do that? Yeah. Why would you not put your best foot forward? So I'm not blaming them even if they did pick a barrel out on purpose. It's probably what I think happened is they picked a nice barrel. They sent some bottles to the show. They sent the rest of the barrel to the San Francisco market.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, regardless,
which would be smart.
Regardless, you've got Heaven Hill here with the Whiskey Advocate bourbon whiskey of the year, right? Yeah. With Elijah Craig last year. Yeah. Now you've got the biggest awards show in San Francisco with Henry McKenna. I mean, this is pretty impressive. Regardless of whether you're picking your barrels, your honey barrels, and entering those. I mean, the Elijah Craigs are obviously batches that everyone can buy, so those are all the same. But this is a strong statement by Heaven Hill.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of barrel proof, And have they jacked up the price at all on it?
Not that I've seen.
No. Heaven Hill makes fantastic bourbon at good prices.
Yeah.
Fantastic bourbon at good prices.
To me, these award shows, it's kind of like the Lance Armstrong argument. Did he cheat? Yeah, of course he cheated, but everybody else was cheating too. So it's still a level playing field. So it doesn't matter because every single distillery and producer is sending their best barrels, and everybody knows how the game's played. They're not dumb. If us 5-6 guys can sit here and say, yeah, that's probably what they're doing, they thought about it 10 years ago, whenever these competitions started. So
doesn't Heaven Hill say we make fine bourbon at a profit if we can, at a loss if we
No, that's Van Winkle. Yeah. No, they say we make fine bourbon at a profit, always at a profit.
We're gonna squeeze it down.
If you look closely, there's a period after profit. It's
So here's a serious question though. With our picks, can we submit a one of our private selections?
If you're anything like me, then you can't get enough about bourbon. And that's why I'm a subscriber to Bourbon Plus magazine. Bourbon Plus is a quarterly publication that tells the stories from the heart of bourbon, the farmers who grow the grain, the distillers who labor over the process, and the people like you and me who raise their glasses to celebrate it all. Subscribe to Bourbon Plus magazine today at bourbonplus.com, that's PLUS.com, and use code PURSUIT at checkout for $5 off your subscription. Shopify's already taken the cash register online, helping millions sell billions around the world. But did you know that Shopify can do the same thing at your retail store? Give your point of sale system a serious upgrade with Shopify. Shopify's point of sale is your command center for your retail store. From accepting payments to managing inventory, Shopify has everything you need to sell in person. And with Shopify, you get a powerhouse selling partner that effortlessly unites your in-person and online sales into one source of truth. Track every sale across your business in one place and know exactly what's in stock. Connect with customers in-line and online. Shopify helps you drive store traffic with plug-and-play tools built for marketing campaigns, from TikTok to Instagram and beyond. And get hardware that fits your business. Take payments by smartphone. Transform your tablet into a point-of-sale system or use Shopify's point-of-sale Go mobile device for a battle-tested solution. Plus, Shopify's award-winning 24/7 help is there to support your success every step of the way. Do retail right with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/bourbon, all lowercase, and go to shopify.com/bourbon to take your retail business to the next level today. Shopify.com/bourbon.
With our picks, can we submit a one of our private selections?
Yes.
I mean, all we got to do is pay the fee and send in whatever it is, 2-6 bottles, whatever it is.
Money is money, right?
Right. I mean, we could have a double gold. We could have best bourbon award.
I mean, kind of to
waste the bottle on it, right? We're not going to get the bottle back, are we?
No, you don't get the bottle back.
See, that sucks.
But we
got
can
to
take
send two bottles too.
You have to take 2 bottles?
Yes, every
2
all these
bottles
award
and
shows are
however
2
many
bottles.
hundreds of dollars.
We'll
And
just take
550
from Carrie's that he sold on BSM, and so then we'll take those profits and use that as our application fee.
I needed tinctures, okay? A new
I thought it
puppet.
was puppets.
Yeah, I needed a new puppet. The strings broke, and I needed to get some at Ace Hardware.
All right, so let's kind of like take a different aspect to this too, because since we've aired the San Francisco Spirits competition with Anthony Diaz Blue on the podcast, I've had 2 other competitions reach out to me and they said, we would love to be on your podcast. And this I took this opportunity. Blake's sitting there making like a moolah sign, like you need to charge them
$550 an entry, please.
Yeah, exactly. We need an entrance fee to be on the podcast. And really, I wanted to take this opportunity because really that podcast was really focused around like, tell us more about the competition. Like what sets us apart? What makes this good? Like, why should people trust it? And without a, not even a span of 24 hours, there's probably a few articles that come out, and notably one was from Wade saying, how much he hates spirit competitions. And so I kind of want to take this part of the show to kind of talk about that, of like the anti-award, because I have heard that really these awards only service two people, or like two kind of consumers in the industry. One, the experts, or the people like us that pay attention and care about it and understand what's going on. And then you have the bottom rung, which are the people that know nothing, and they just walk through the bourbon aisles and they see a sticker that says like, I won a spirit competition, right? Like that's the only people that it serves. Like in the middle ground, you've got the people that are buying Woodford and Maker's Mark, and they're really not going to stop drinking that anyway. And that's really not going to turn their mind from them. So I kind of want to turn this over to Wade for a second and just kind of first, just get your opinions. Like, man, why all the hate? Why hate award shows?
Well, the timing of my blog post obviously is about the same time as this San Fran show. And I'm not trying to pick on that show in particular. Actually, I think it's probably one of the better run shows. I know Fred is a judge there. I know they really do taste blind, which I suspected some other shows, smaller shows, maybe that doesn't even go on. But the stuff I posted on my blog, I've been saying on the online Facebook groups about bourbon for years now. So it's nothing. I haven't really stated anything new. I just put it all together in one blog post. But these award shows, they're big business. The San Francisco one, it's $550 to enter a product. In 2017, there was 2253 bottles entered, spirits entered. That's $1.25 million. So, yeah, they got to pay judges and they have a hotel. But the founders of these they're making some bank on these shows. So, Kenny, don't sell yourself short for a $550 interview. This could be more like a $10,000 Bourbon Pursuit podcast.
Damn it. There's my opportunity there.
And the win rate in the San Fran show in 2017, 2253 spirits entered. Anybody want to take a guess how many won some type of an award?
Over 2,000.
Correct. 2,083.
Really?
2,083. 92.4% of spirits entered won some type of award.
Did somebody just submit rubbing alcohol as a joke? And they were one of the only ones that didn't get.
I want to know what happens to the losers, though. I mean, they just like boot off stage and they spank them in the back. Like what?
They win
ceremonial dumping in the toilet.
Right.
They get single gold or something like.
Well, they have bronze, silver. They have all these different categories. So,
from what I understand, what Fred said is that to get a bronze, he said in his opinion, that's like rating like a 75 on Whiskey Advocate, right? Which is not high, not a really high bar.
Which is not as what I think of as third place. At the Olympics, the guy trained his whole life to get a bronze. Here, it's like you just you show up, you get a bronze.
Right? You got to calibrate.
Consumers don't know this. When the consumers go into the store, they see these awards. They don't really question what color it is. Matter of fact, most consumers I think, are clueless. This is even more than one award show. They think there's probably one show, and that's the only one. And the reality is there's hundreds and hundreds of these shows. I pointed out on my blog site, there's a local distiller here in Houston, and he tells me he gets a call or an email a week to enter one of these shows. And they're all about the same, $500. Submit 2 bottles. So they're just all over the place. And the one I posted on my blog was really funny. It was the Beverly Hills Spirits Award Show, win an award from a prestigious address. But what it turned out to be when I did a little research is where you send in the package was to a Postnet type box that was rented out in Beverly Hills. And this Postnet facility specifically said they would forward your packages any place. So it could be some guy in his underwear in Nebraska running the Beverly Hills Spirits competition.
Now, Wade, you give me an idea here, actually, Wade. I'm going to retract my suggestion that we submit the Bourbon Community Roundtable whiskey selections to San Francisco. I think we need a Bourbon Community Roundtable awards show.
That's what I said.
I'm all in on that.
Entries are $1,000. Go ahead and just
Look,
send me 2 bottles.
We'll do 500 an entry. We need 4 bottles for all of us.
And we drink it. It's only us that drinks it.
We're the judges.
That's it, man.
Genius.
But if we want to do it fair, though, they take the 500 and then they pay us for the cost of the bottles and we get to go procure the bottles ourselves, so they're
That's
not
how you
sending
do
them
that.
to us.
Okay, yeah.
But no award show does that. They all depend on the producers to send them the bottles, and as long as that's available, you're going to be able to game the system.
Yep.
Yep. Well, guys, when do you want to plan it? Well, I'll come up there. You were right. You guys are right in the middle for Texas and Atlanta, right? So we got Texas. Florida. I forgot about Florida.
Yeah, I think we have.
Sounds like we just did meet Missouri, I guess, right?
Yeah, one rule though: nobody's allowed to drink from a glass. It all has to be from the bottle. You have to taste from the bottle. You have to smell from the bottle.
Well, how are we going to get that? No, we need the sponsorship from the glass.
Oh, that's
true. You're
true.
turning away revenue there, Blake.
How much? I mean, I've got a good glass company now, so I could probably make that one happen.
There we go.
How much does Neat pay to be the glass at this competition? I mean, what's the story with Neat as the glass? Does anyone know that?
I haven't seen a copy of the contract, but I'm sure it's there.
I talked to him. What's his name? George Manska or something. A couple years back, whenever he was first getting into it, and he made it sound like he was just providing the glass because that's what they wanted. His glass was, a superior glass for tasting and nosing and everything, and he would just provide the glass and be the sponsor. But who knows if that's changed in the last few years, and who knows if that was the truth? But
it's possible.
Yeah, but you got to think he's probably shelling out 10 to 15,000 glasses, maybe. How many judges are in there?
For San Fran, I think there were. I don't remember. I think there was at least 50, something like that, maybe. Because there was a lot of different
50
categories.
2,000 and 2,500 bottles.
Yeah,
it's an insane number of tastings.
And you got to understand, like when Fred was there, he not only just did bourbon, but he also did tequila, he did vodka, and he did another one, right? So it's
over a few days, so they are washing those glasses. So you don't need a glass for everything.
Still, that's
toss it in the trash. We don't need this.
Yeah, you would think they could use
like a solo cup,
right?
Yeah. See, if we ran a competition, that's who ends up sponsoring. That's all we're gonna be able to get is solo cups, right? But Blake, I also wanted to take your opinion on this too, because when we put out this podcast, in your newsletter that you put out, you had also kind of highlighted with a link to an article that you had written a few years ago about how you're kind of a little bit on the anti side as well. So kind of get your take on it.
Yeah. So it's just a lot of the same information that Wade said, like, all these people are getting awards. The bottles are getting sent from the distilleries and the brands, and that's just not a level playing field. And at the end of the day, it's confusing the customer, because the customer comes in and sees, oh, this one silver medal, that's awesome, but what does that really mean? So I think of these kind of more of like marketing award shows than anything else. There's obviously a lot of good tasters and everything in these things that kind of legitimize some of it, but at the end of the day, there's just a lot of other things as well that just make it not that interesting to people like us. It's maybe it is. Maybe they're doing the right thing, because we're still talking about it on the Bourbon Community Roundtable, and we have an audience of nerds, and I put 2 articles about it in my last Bourbon Roundup. But
our audiences, they're cool people.
No, that's I'm saying they're on the nerdier side and the really into this, the enthusiast side. They're not just the guy that's going to be on the shelves and picking out based on these little stickers that says it won a gold or double gold or whatever it is. But I don't know. It seems like it's one of those snowballs that's not going to stop. There's always going to be award shows. Everybody always wants to know what's the best. And somebody's going to capitalize on that. And it sounds like they've done a really good job at it if it's $500 a bottle and there's $2,500 or 2,500 entries. So, for me, it's just kind of like, don't spend your money based on these award shows. Go read other reviews. figure out what you like, taste stuff at a bar. That's how you should be making your decisions, not going to a shelf and standing there and saying, "Oh, the manager suggested this one and it got double gold. I'll go ahead and grab it."
So there's a Abraham Bowman single barrel at my local that says, I think it says Gold Whiskey of the Year 2016.
No,
and
it says best bourbon. If I'm thinking of the same Abraham Bowman.
Yeah, best bourbon of the year 2016 though, right?
Yeah.
And that sticker is still sitting on that same bottle that's still sitting on the shelf. I don't think, at least in bourbon community, I don't think there's a huge emphasis on that gold sticker that says it won a gold medal.
I think even recently, Eagle Rare, I was trying to think if I had a bottle sitting around, had like a 2014 silver medal winner of ISC or something.
Which means it's awful, right?
Yeah, it's kind of my thinking, but yeah. But Eagle Rare's one I'd put over the majority of the ones that get gold or triple platinum or whatever it is. So, yeah, it's all kind of I got a name for it, but I won't use it.
It sounds like you're coming up with a lot of strip club names over here.
Triple platinum. One word. It's one word. It's marketing. This is, bourbon
self-fulfilling is
nothing else, right? This is a marketing play for companies. If it's $550 or $450 or $750, whatever the reasonably small number is for a brand, it's the chance that that's going to get out there, and then it's going to get in the media, and that name's going to be said a couple times, 10 times, 20 times, whatever the chance that it may be. And it's just repetition. Even if they're not seeing it on the shelf, but people are hearing it. Suddenly people are talking about Henry McKenna, right? So now we're hearing that name. You have that innate urge to say, geez, maybe I'll go grab a bottle or two because it might be harder to get in a month or so once people catch on. It's just that idea that it's a reasonably small amount of money for companies to pay to potentially get their name out there and get that repetition, get the marketing, get people to talk about it in the press, right? And I think that's what these boil down to. It's worth it. It's worth the risk. I mean, if they don't get a medal, so what? They don't use it in their own marketing. It disappears. No one even knows it was there. And it was
$500 is the lowest amount of money they've spent all year.
Yeah, I mean, they run a little local ad. It's going to be $1,500. Yeah. It's a good price.
They could do Facebook, and it would be $500.
Yeah,
I think ultimately, if they just narrowed the awards down to best in class and some kind of like, I don't know, best in show, or tie in some horse racing or something, in kind of like a second, third place, that would make me appreciate these award shows a lot more. Because I'll do it, especially with like the ADI does theirs. I'll look at the best in class for all the craft different spirits, and I'll try to grab a couple of them. But if as you start to trickle down, nobody's going to say, all right, I want to get the top 50 spirits that were released in vodka, based in the U.S.
2,000 out of 2020.
Yeah, just narrow it down, and because if you don't narrow it down, you're just making it more of a marketing gimmick for brands. They can put it on.
That's what these shows do. These shows increase the number of categories so they can have more winners. The San Fran show had 7 different categories of bourbon that they gave awards in.
That's what you have 5 different categories. An aged, a finished, barrel proof,
single barrel,
small batch,
small batch up to 5 years, small batch 6 to 10, small batch over 11. It just goes on. There were 7 different types.
Too much.
And each one of those have bronze, silver, gold, double gold winners.
Yeah. Marketing.
All right, so
name of the game.
I just had another idea, and Blake kind of gave me this idea. So what, instead of doing our own spirits competition, we run, because he had the horse analogy, I said, we run betting. Like, could you imagine if somebody put an exacta box on Henry McKenna and Elijah Craig, like what that would pay?
Yeah, but they don't tell us who enters though, right?
Well, I'm sure if we get the list of who enters before this, we could probably get that information, and we could just do a whole online betting thing, right?
Well, if 95% of the bottles
When
we could just pull the winners list from last year and make that the list for this year.
Entrants, that's right.
Yeah, and any new spirits that may came along.
Don't even stop there. Let's just open a casino. That'd be awesome, man. Let's get it on a boat so it's on water and make our own casino.
Hey, you can come to Jacksonville for that. All we got to do is 3 miles offshore. We're good.
There we go. I can also go to Biloxi.
We're veering way off topic.
Yeah, a little bit, but that's the whole point of this, right? So, before we kind of wrap up this, does anybody have any kind of last comments on, being anti-spirits? I kind of still like, I think, Nick, you said a really good point that this still has a place in the market because the people at these distilleries still want that opportunity to be able to have some sort of marketing angle when they go and they put their bottles on the shelves. They want to have a new neck tag. They want to have something. But then you've got, Wade and Blake make great arguments as well, saying that this doesn't really mean anything, especially to the, the high-end consumer, right? Or should I say the well-educated consumer, right? I think it just is something where you have to be able to read between the lines and not get caught up in the hype, and hopefully that we don't see, Henry Buchanan go the way of Weller 12 all of a sudden, and people are just pouring up bottles everywhere.
I'd like to add one more thing. I'd really love to come to a different location like San Francisco and drink spirits for 3 to 4 days. So if anybody wants to hire me to be a judge on one of these things, just comment below, please.
Yeah, and actually,
I'll jump in on that too.
As an agent, I need to travel with him as part of Bourbon Arbia. I need to make sure that I'm there.
It's a team effort at this point.
Yeah. Actually, pay for all of us to be there, man. Come on.
That's what they should do.
Yeah. BCR, yeah.
But only somewhere cool, like not Omaha or like.
I asked that question. I said, "So how can we get a part of this?" And he says, "Well, start judging some smaller competitions first, and then we'll
like our own."
Yeah, see,
I'm beginning to think this is like the Bourbon Whore podcast.
Basically, we just come on here and try to see what we can get out of it.
We market ourselves while making fun of marketing of others.
Yeah,
there you go. Actually, Catch 22 just had one last question before we kind of close this topic. He says, "Do you trust Whiskey Advocate ratings or San Francisco Spirits Awards more?"
Ooh.
I noticed the last Whiskey Advocate ratings I saw were all Fred Minnick for bourbons. So they were all Fred. So I will say that going to where I kind of feel like I know more about what Fred may like or dislike is helpful, as opposed to kind of randomly who might be the person drinking it.
Yeah, I'll trust Fred's reviews.
But he's on both, right? Like, so it doesn't really matter at this point.
Yeah, I would say Whiskey Advocate just because they're more whiskey focused. You know, I assume if Fred's tasting vodka and tequila at the San Francisco competition, you're going to have other people in the bourbon and whiskey that may be tequila or cocktail or vodka, whatever it is, based. And not that I don't trust them, I just think I'd have a different palate than that person would. So. Yeah, I'd probably go Whiskey Advocate.
I will say, a spirits competition, that I honestly don't give that any weight at all. I mean, I look at I'm not kidding. I don't look at it as any weight at all. I just, it's a marketing thing. I see it as suddenly I see it on a label. I see a neck tag with it, but I don't look at that as spirits competition winner. That's going to be a good thing. I just look at it as that's something that people got behind. They just happen to get there. They just happen to be the winner, whatever.
You nailed it right there with that take.
What are you doing, man?
What kind of box you got there, Blake?
Blake's unboxing something over there. So
I'm trying to put this in. It was bothering me that I was out of the box.
he's
rum.
He's cleaning his closets over there.
Tidying up. Y'all keep
we've lost Blake's attention. So,
so with that, let's move it to the last topic. I had some other ones, talking about Buffalo Trace to their 7th million barrel, Heaven Hill to their 8th million barrel. So congratulations to them on the expansion. There was something else that Fred kind of blew up the internet a little bit with, where he kind of had cases upon cases of GTS that were still sitting around during the 7th millionth barrel.
That was Fred.
Yeah. I've also heard rumors that he said that those were all empty, but I don't know, because everybody's like, what happened to the 40,000 bottles of GTS that Breaking Bourbon said were going to be out there that weren't out there? So people are saying that we could see a second release.
Hey, we're independent contractors. We don't
directly from them that most of those boxes were empty.
Yeah. So anyway, hearsay, rumor, whatever it is. Well, who knows? But there was something that one of the people on the roundtable here kind of wanted to talk about, that they heard somebody from Buffalo Trace said that nobody's talking about two of the press releases that came out recently, which was their 4-grain release as well as their OFC release. I really don't want to talk about the whiskey. I want to kind of talk about this subject in itself. Why do you think nobody's talking about these? Do you think nobody cares? Is it is it just not exciting, or do they not?
Let's talk about the OFC for a second. The OFC was something in the realm of 250 bottles that they released this time around. And
well, let's rewind it one more time. In the fact that, remember when this we had talked about it before, and I think Blake is the one that called it, or you called it. I know there was some arguments there, but
I don't know what it was. It was probably me.
Yeah, say it, whatever it is. You take the win. But saying that OFC or Buffalo Trace was giving away these OFCs for charity, and then it was almost like a Trojan horse where you could see it coming down the line to figure out what's the market going to bear. And then they're like, okay, now we're going to come out with these and we're going to charge some ridiculous price on it.
Yeah, like $2,000 or something. And it's like the Pappy 25. How am I going to get excited about 3 bottles that come to my state that are going to people that are probably never going to open them. Maybe 1 or 2 bars are going to get it and charge $250, $300 a pour. I started to get excited about that kind of stuff. At least with the 4-grain, I'll probably get 1 or 2 of those. But it's just, it started with the 4 years ago when we had the Cured Oak. That was like a really, really awesome release. And it was one that I think, they had started that whole April release of the E.H. Taylor, and there was a lot of buzz about it. And I remember people going crazy for that. And then came the, what was the second one? Seasoned Wood that came out, which was good, not great. It was decent, same kind of thing. And then the 4-grain last year, I just thought it was just okay. I think it speaks to not just the whiskey, but also a lot of their stuff lately has been so limited that you can't even find it. So why bother getting excited about it?
Sure. What's the point?
Yep. I'll be honest. I'm getting sick of stuff that is so limited. I know I'm not going to get it at the onset, or it's too expensive. Even if a store called me and said, I have this, it's $3,000. Do you want a bottle? I would say, no, I'm not going to buy a bottle for $3,000. It's just, what am I going to do with that? Yeah. I think I'm not excited about that anymore. I'm excited about the Old Forester 1920s, the Rebel Yell single barrels, the things that I know I might be able to get that are going to be reasonable priced, that are really good, that are new. Somehow they're doing something different with the barrels they're pulling, the batches they're putting together, whatever. That's the stuff that I'm getting more excited about now.
You better go buy a case of Longbranch.
Well, and you think about how they marketed the 4-grain. It's like, we are re-releasing the Jim Murray Whiskey of the Year. It kind of goes back to the same thing that we were talking about with the competitions.
Before they were doing this, that they're going to do 2 releases of it.
Yeah, and do we do the enthusiast care all that much that Jim Murray named it the Whiskey of the Year? I think a lot of people stopped caring about that when he named the Crown Royal Whiskey of the Year. I could be wrong, but
he solidified his credibility when he did that for me.
Yeah, it still gets talked about every year. It gets thrown out, but that, hey, this Whiskey of the Year, all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I'm not basing what I buy. So it's basically just a re-release. It is a year older, so it's interesting. But no, I just don't think they were all that interesting of releases when something is so limited as those new OFC bottles. I think it was even more limited than the Van Winkle 25 year, but that had the Van Winkle name to back it up and create more buzz around it. So I don't know. I didn't write about it, but
I mean, for me, it kind of goes back to, I've been saying this for at least since 4 Grain even was announced. And I said, for how long Buffalo Trace has been experimenting with bourbon, if they realized long ago that making bourbon with 4 grains was better than 3, they would have been doing 4 grains the entire time, right? So don't get caught up on this and thinking that this bourbon's off the wall. It's awesome. It's crazy. It's different. Like, you've got to have, like, if they knew it was better, they would have been doing that so much longer ago, right? This
like the experiment.
I would say yes and no, because you think once you're kind of on that track, it's kind of like saying, why isn't everybody using wheat? Because obviously a lot of people like wheat in their bourbon. Once a distillery's on something, they kind of stick with it, and then you're aging this stuff 10 years. Well, if you find out 10 years later, I kind of like this a little bit better, you convince yourself, no, I'm still doing it the right way.
They did all this because they were bored. They went through the phase where nobody was drinking bourbon and they were bored. So they're sitting around one day.
To Kenny's,
you know what? Let's throw 4 ingredients into this batch today. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's make a whole batch of 4 grain. I mean, all this stuff was the seasoned wood, all this kind of stuff. They were bored.
To Kenny's point, though,
some type of forklift accident that happened, and it got accidentally dumped into the fermentation tank.
What we've really been missing is an accident bourbon. We haven't had a good accident bourbon in a long time, like the Wild Turkey Forgiven, or what were the other ones that came out?
And I was talking to a guy at Wild Turkey who swore that's the truth.
I've
swore it. He swore it, and I can't believe it. I still can't believe it.
I've heard like at least the first batch was kind of the truth, and then the marketing got a hold of it. Is it still getting released?
They stopped it.
They stopped.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which bourbon? Which one?
Forgiven.
We've talked about it for a while, but you can still see it on the shelves. Like, it's amazing that people were rushing out and buying the rest of Old Granddad 114 thinking that was being discontinued. But we've known about Wild Turkey Forgiven for at least a year, and that's still sitting around on the shelves.
Yeah, but I mean, Old Granddad 114. Old Granddad 114 was good, right? I mean, you're cheap. It's good.
I gave a personal insult to Nick there or something.
How dare you talk about 114?
If Matthew McConaughey ends up in one of the bourbon aging tanks,
it's just Matthew. It's not Matthew McConaughey.
It's just Matthew. It's just Manny.
This podcast.
Right? No, but to Kenny's point, though, I think it's possible that some of these bourbons lost my train of thought.
You were talking about Kenny's point, so
too many of these.
Yeah,
you should be drinking an 80 proof bourbon.
Yeah, that's my problem.
No, but Wade, did you have anything else to add? Before we close this out, talking about like why nobody cares to talk about 4 Grain or OFC, or is it because of maybe some tactics lately by Buffalo Trace? I know that at least within the releases, we were talking in our own private messaging group right here. Or should I say releases and the 7th million barrel? None of us were invited to the 7th million barrel rollout, from what I understand.
I wasn't that thrilled with the 4 Grain when I tasted it. So, I mean, that's not on my radar because I really don't care about it. I don't go hunt whiskey I don't like. I really don't stand in line for whiskey at all anymore. It's just not worth it. And OFC is going to be so limited and so crazy price. I never tried the first one, so I don't know if it was good whiskey or not, and it doesn't really matter to me.
I had one in my hands. I had a 1980 that I sold for our school that I should have been like, man, I got $500 for this whiskey. It was amazing. Great. Thank you, Buffalo Trace. But no, I had to sell it for $5,000. Never saw it again.
So we'll kind of.
Sorry, I remember what I was going to say. So, Kenny, you were talking about the 4 grains. Why they didn't restart that, right? So, I mean, you think about it, it's something different. 4 grains, it's different. They want to release something different, right? So you got a limited release. You got this E.H. Taylor kind of brand that's about experimentation, doing something different. You want to play that out, right? In everyday bourbons, are people going to the shelves and thinking, "Oh, this is it. This one's made out of 4 grains"? I would bet you that most people going to the shelves for bourbon are not thinking about what this is made of. They're just saying, "What's the price? What's the marketing? What does it maybe taste like?" Right? They're not thinking about how much corn is in this, how much wheat is in this, how much rye might be in this, right? So, I mean, it's just not a play for them. I don't think there's a long-term play. I think it's a limited thing. It kind of, it played itself out. Now it's come out again. And I think people are looking at it saying, okay, it's out again. Maybe I'll get it. Maybe I won't. And there's not much to talk about.
Right.
What?
It's like we kind of just go in cycles, right? We'll go back, we'll go forward, it's whatever it is. But, I kind of want to close this out because, we talked that.
Wait, I got to announce the newest 4-grain product first.
Okay.
Blood Oath 5 coming soon. It's going to be a mix of Rebel Yell and Urza Brooks. They're combining them together to get the 4 grains. So
good.
The thing is, what do you call it whenever you can't tell if it's even sarcasm anymore? Like, there's just so much craziness on the market. I honestly don't know if he's being serious or not. Like, I wouldn't be surprised one bit if that shows up.
It could happen. But, we weren't really excited for this. However, there is a new TTB release that everybody was really excited for, which is the announcement of Booker's 30th. So I know that we had talked about that on Twitter a little bit, saying like, we've got to get our hands on this. If Booker's 25th was this good, and this is supposed to be a 16-year barrel proof release. Any comments about that before we close it out?
Any idea release numbers? Because once again, I'm not going to get excited about 500.
They haven't released, but my guess is in the 10 to 15,000 range. I think so, because you think about it,
they've got so much.
It's just a 16-year-old bourbon. Like, they had a ton of the Knob Creek age.
Think of the Knob Creeks that have been 14 and 15-year-olds.
They've probably at least 200,000 bottles between Knob Creek 25th and all the 2001 releases. But that's one. I said it. I'm really excited about that one, just because I love Booker's. I love the 25th. I love the Booker's Rye. And that's just one of those bottles that, Booker's will always be special to me, because I feel like it's one I really got started on. So, no, I'm excited to see that.
What do we think? $300 for that?
probably at least.
I think it was, who was it? It may have been Brett Atlas said, I think they're going to surprise people and come out with like a $199.
Oh, he's shit. Well, not.
I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be $350. It'll be $350.
It'll be $349.99 exactly.
Yeah, $350. That's right.
I would believe $199.
All right, is our casino open yet? Because I'll put an over under. An over under on $300. Who wants?
I'm going $249.99. No, actually, no.
You were just at $349.
Yeah, but I'm going to hedge my bets a little bit. So I'm going to go $299 is going to be the price.
What is secondary market open at?
Yeah,
600,
800,
600.
I think it depends how many there are.
Yeah. Well, why is Booker's 25 as low as it is on the secondary? I mean, that's one of the top 3 bourbons in the last 10 years.
That's a good question. That's a good question, Brian.
Because everything has hit a plateau, which is a sign that the market is stale. Like everything that you look at has plateaued. It's just the same number.
Why is Booker's 25th on the lower side of that, though?
It just and there's certain stuff that doesn't make sense. It's just the way the secondary works out. I mean, I don't know why so much stuff about it that, like, if you looked at the numbers on it, you're like, why is this one still so cheap compared to other ones? Like, look at the old stuff. This Eagle Rare 1979 1 liter bottle that I got for basically under $1,000. You know, compared to people paying $1,600 for a Pappy 23, it's like, what? People just.
Well, I think Booker's 25th is almost in comparison to Black Maple Hill, the NAS bottle right now. I think I saw one go for like $500 or something the other day, which is
Silly.
Pains.
Well, that's a little bit different. I mean, that one's out of circulation, but that's also been creeping up over at least the past 3 years, which I had actually shared on. So the last podcast we had with the economic professors, he actually had a paper that looked and studied all the data that came from a defunct Facebook group somebody on here actually used to run, and looked at all the data for the past like two years of sales and noticed the trend of actually I think it was like a 32.1% growth in the value of your bourbon from when you bought it to what you could sell it for.
Mm.
I mean, it was a great investment. I don't know that it is now, but bourbon, if you started in 2012, God, bourbon was a fantastic investment.
Mm-hmm.
I know someone who spent all of his savings on bourbon. His name is known on the secondary sites, and hell, he's still buying bourbon as a secondary, as an investment. I don't think it's as good of an investment nowadays because I'm all about the crypto train. But
I was going to say that thing took a hard nosedive too. So
it's back, baby. We're back. Crypto is back. Coming back up. We're almost back at 10K. Ethereum's recovering, so we're feeling good. But
pan to those computers. Pan to them, Kerry.
Yeah.
He's mining over there.
Yeah. I'm actually using all of your computers to mine. You just don't know it.
I was wondering why mine was running slow.
Yeah, it's mining right now.
all right, so let's go ahead. I think that's that'll be good enough to wrap up this week's episode. So I want to say thank you for everybody that has joined us on the chat, you fellows as well. Before I kind of close it out, I want to what the fuck? Carrie just drops all the time. I don't know, and we did this last time, but maybe that was internet problems. But anyway, I want to let you all kind of go around the horn one more time, talk about who you are, where people can find your blogs, where people can learn more about you, and all that good stuff. So, Brian, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, appreciate it. This is Brian with Sippin' Corn. Find me mostly on Twitter at Sippin' Corn. Also, the blog Sippin' Corn, where I've got reviews and a legal slant on all things bourbon. And November 2018, be looking out for Bourbon Justice, my first book. Already thinking about the second book, but first things first, look out November 2018 for that book. And then in September, go to Bourbon and Beyond, and where you'll be able to see a lot of us running some sessions there and hearing some great artists. Appreciate being on the show again, guys.
Brian, I don't want to give anything away, but did you say at one point there was a chapter about shipping bourbon?
I get into that a little bit, but mostly because of Kentucky's new law that they passed last year about the vintage spirits. We're looking at shipping laws now, but it's going to be ever changing.
Yeah.
All right. So, Nick, you go next.
I am Nick from Breaking Bourbon. Check us out at breakingbourbon.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Breaking Bourbon. Support us on Patreon, Breaking Bourbon. And we appreciate being on this show. And thanks everybody for tuning in.
And don't knock Old Granddad 114.
Do not.
Don't knock it. He'll come after you. Yeah, he'll clear the shelves for you instead. So, Kerry, you go ahead, buddy.
Kerry from suburbia.com, SUBOURBIA.com. Blake and I are actually working on a story together that I think is going to make waves in the bourbon world. Can I just give him a small hint of what we might be?
You know what? Give it to him, Kerry. Give it to him.
Distributors have ruined bourbon. There it is. It's going to be a big article. I'm going to write it at some point. I'm still write a couple books.
We have a strict deadline at Bourboner. No, this is actually going to be a combined effort. It's going to be Sippin' Suburbaner, and let's see how many people we can get in.
It'll be fun, but always look forward to hanging with you guys. I do look forward to the day that I actually do meet up with y'all and hang out with y'all, which will be definitely very soon. So thanks again for having me aboard.
Make it at Bourbon and Beyond. But it sounds like Kerry's like that guy that you always have in a class project. It sounds like Blake's going to be doing all his work, and Kerry's like, yeah, looks great, man.
I'm going to gather clothes.
All of a sudden, he's bashing it on Twitter. I'm like, hold on, you wrote half of this article. Bourboner sucks. This article is trash.
Blake, go ahead.
All right. I'm Blake from Bourboner.com. You can find me Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Coming back in May with the Bourboner blind tasting. As mentioned earlier, had 2 new additions to the family, and things got a little busy the past couple months. But coming back strong with the Bourboner blind tastings. And then if you can come out to Bourbon and Beyond, I know that got plugged as well earlier, but definitely do it. Should be a good time.
And you didn't name them Booker and Baker?
Booker and Baker was really, really, I was pushing hard for that one. Then I went with Elmer. I'm like, what about Elmer?
Elmer.
It was actually my granddad's name too. So I'm like, it's a perfect tie-in. She didn't go with that either. So
That's going to be added to the tater list.
yeah,
Naming your kids after bottles of bourbon.
Elijah
Your dog,
Craig.
okay. Your kids,
Elijah
no.
Craig.
If it wasn't for stinking Baker Mayfield, I may have been able to slide Baker in there because she didn't really know about it all that much.
I'd like you to meet my son, Whistle Pig.
You might be able to get paid for that, Carrie.
There's a royalty every time somebody says it.
Yeah. Whistle Pig. Whistle Pig.
That's hilarious. So Wade, go ahead and close us out there.
Okay, I'm Wade Woodard. My blog is tater-talk.com. And my next topic, hopefully coming shortly, will be due to a recent interpretation by the TTB, age statements are now completely meaningless on bourbon.
Really?
Nice.
Stay tuned. Yes.
Well, good. Can't wait to hear that one. But per usual, fellas, I want to say thank you again for joining tonight. Make sure you are following all these guys on social media. Make sure you're reading their blogs. Everybody's got a lot of great information out. I know we've plugged it, Bourbon and Beyond. Half the people that you're seeing right here are going to be there running sessions. Maybe another reason for just people just to come and kind of hang out. Who knows? Well, maybe we'll throw a pre-party on Friday. Who knows what happens, right? We'll figure that out.
Kenny's Bar.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. But guys, I want to say thank you again. Make sure you follow everything with Bourbon Pursuit on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. If you like the show, make sure you support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Bourbon Pursuit. And if you have any show suggestions, feel free to send us an email. We've got the duo at bourbonpursuit.com. And I think with that'll wrap it up. Thank you again, everyone, and we'll see you all next week.